Hello there, welcome to an equations video on simple equations. They're not that simple, some of them, but still, we'll have a look at them. Having a look at some key examples here. 2y plus 4 equals 16. We look to move numbers away from the letter by doing the opposite to both sides, and the thing we'll choose to do first is to take away a plus 4 by minusing 4 both sides. That will allow us to have 2y on the left hand side equaling 12, because the plus 4 and the minus 4 kind of cancel each other out. We then remember that when things are beside each other in algebra, there's an invisible multiply in between them. So to move that 2 that's multiplying here, we'll divide by 2 both sides, leaving us with y equals 6 to solve that equation. This one, when we've got letter terms on both sides, we want to move the smaller letter term first. It works out better if we do that. So to move a 2m, we think of that as being a positive 2m, so we'll subtract 2m on both sides of this equation. That'll leave us with 4m minus 4 equals 16, and then we will add 4 both sides to move the minus 4. That'll leave us with 4m on the left hand side equaling 20. And remember that the 4 is multiplying by the m in an invisible sort of way. We'll divide by 4 both sides to get rid of it, to leave the letter on its own. When we're solving equations, we really want to end up with the letter on its own. So m equals 5 there. So the first move there is to move the smaller letter term first. Works out a lot better if you do that way. Here we have an obvious situation of expanding first to get some normal terms happening here. 5 lots of x is 5x, 5 lots of 2 is 10, equaling 35. We'd want to move a plus 10 next, so we'll do the opposite to both sides by minusing 10 both sides. That'll leave us with 5x when the plus 10 and the minus 10 kind of cancel each other out on that left hand side. And we'll just calculate 35 minus 10, which is 25. We'll divide by 5 to move the 5 that's invisibly multiplying there. Divide by 5 both sides. Got to do things to both sides on these. X equals 5. This one, we've got some two fairly obvious expanding opportunities, so we get some normal terms happening here. We don't want to have brackets complicating things. So 3 lots of a is 3a. 3 lots of 2 is 6, I'm here to tell you. 2 lots of a is 2a. 2 lots of minus 7 is minus 14. And we're left now with a situation of having a letter term on both sides. So we want to move the smaller letter term first, we suggest. So the smaller of the letter terms is a 2a. We'll subtract 2a from both sides, effectively joining up the letter terms really. 3a minus 2a is just a. So we'll be having a plus 6 on that left hand side, and we'll be left with minus 14 on that right hand side. Because that minus belongs to that 14, we'll be careful to keep that. To move a plus 6, so we get the letter on its own, we'll minus 6 both sides. And that'll leave us with a equals minus 20. Careful with that last bit. A minus and a minus doesn't make a plus there because we're doing it on the number line. We start off at minus 14 and move 6 jumps further down the left hand side on the minus section. A equals minus 20 there. Here, this long fraction line makes a big difference. We can't move the minus 3 first like we normally would. We usually undo or move plus or minus numbers before we undo multiplies and divides in solving equations, because we kind of consider that we are working backwards to solve equations. So here we need to get rid of or undo a 2 that's dividing. So the way to undo a 2 that's dividing is to multiply by 2 on the left hand side, and we would have to multiply by 2 on the right hand side as well. That will cancel out over here, because a 2 that's multiplying and a 2 that's dividing will cancel each other out, leaving us with y minus 3 on the left hand side. 2 times 5 is 10 there. So once we do that, it's pretty straightforward. We want to move a minus 3, so we'll plus 3 both sides. They'll cancel out there, leaving us with y, which is what we want. We want to get the letter on its own, and 13 there. When we've got the long fraction line, get rid of or undo the bottom number first there. Here, what I'd suggest we do is we want to look to multiply every term by a number that 2 and 3 both go into. This allows us in one step to get rid of both bottom numbers here. I've chosen 6 because 3 and 2 both go into 6. We have to multiply every term in the whole thing by 6. Let me just change to a different color pen here. Then we say to ourselves 3 goes into itself once and into 6 twice. Then when we do that cancelling and we're left with a number up the top here, we do 2 lots of the x there. 2 goes into itself once and into that 6 3 times, so we have a minus 3 which multiplies by the x, and 6 times 7, there's nothing to cancel down over there. 6 sevens are 42. 2x minus 3x, you're taking away one more than you've got. 2 minus 3 is minus 1 equals 42. There's a multiply there, so we'll be dividing by minus 1 to get rid of that, or undo that. Divided by minus 1. Excuse me. X will equal, now 42 divided by a minus will be a minus answer. Goes in minus 42 times there. Okay, so that's how I like to do them. I like to get rid of the bottom numbers first. You can do it other ways. You can turn them both into something over 6 if you like, but and then go from there. I like to, as a first step, get rid of both of those bottom numbers. Here once again we can do something similar. Can you see that we should be, if we multiply every term by 12, that'll give us an opportunity to cancel out those bottom numbers. Have to do it on every term. So we'll have 12 there, 12 there, and 12 there. When we do our cancelling down, we'll say 4 into itself once and 4 goes into there 3 times. And then that 3 will multiply by the d and the 5. It's like a bracket situation here that we'll have to expand that 3 through that bracket. So from there we'll have 3d plus 15. Be careful with that expansion there. Here 3 goes into itself once and into that 12 4 times, and that will multiply up the top there. So we've got plus 4d on that, that's also on that left hand side, equals, nothing to cancel out here with just 3 12s, or 12 3s are 36. Now these are like terms to each other, they're not on opposite sides of the equal sign, so we don't have to sort of do any minus 4d here, but we can join those two up and make 7d plus 15 equaling 36, and we can just solve that like a two-step equation. We'll move the plus 15 by minusing 15 in the interest of getting the d on its own eventually. We get 7d left there when those two cancel out. Equals 36 minus 15, I reckon, is 21. Then we'll divide by 7 both sides. D equaling 3 there. Alright, so we got rid of the 4 and the 3 by multiplying every term by 12 and then doing some cancelling down. Here you could possibly suggest that there's a number that we should multiply everything by if we want to get rid of a 5 and a 3. Can you see it? Let's multiply every term by 15, a number that 5 and 3 can both go into. So if we choose that number carefully, we'll be able to cancel out the bottom numbers nice and quickly. 5 goes into itself once and into there 3 times. That then expands the 3 through that top bit like it's got a bracket around it. 3 lots of m is 3m. 3 lots of minus 2 is minus 6. 3 goes into itself once and into 15 5 times, and so we'll be multiplying or expanding that 5 through that bracket there. Have to be pretty careful here because we have actually a minus in front there, so it's like we're multiplying minus 5 through this bracket. That'll be, we have to be keeping our concentration there. Minus 5m and minus 5 multiplied by minus 1 is a plus 5 equals, now 5 sevens, 5 15 sevens. 7 tens are 70, and 7 fives are 35, so we get 105 there. I need to get the calculator out there. Anyway, these all these terms on this left-hand side are can be just joined if they're like terms. So we have a 3m and a minus 5m. That gives us minus 2m. And we can join a minus 6 and a plus 5 and get minus 1. Don't have to do the opposite in that case because they're just joining each other on the same side as of the equal sign. Let's plus 1 both sides, leaving us with minus 2m equals 106. And we'll divide by minus 2 to get the letter on its own, leaving us with m on its own, and that goes into there 50 minus 53 times. We have a plus divided by a minus gives us a minus answer there. Okay, a lot of things happening in that question. We multiplied through by 15 to get rid of the 5 and the 3 nice and early on. And when we do the cancelling, those remaining numbers up the top there, the survivors, expand through carefully, and we had to be really careful with the expansion on that second bracket because we had a minus number out the front. Alright, lots of equations there. They're supposedly simple equations, but there's plenty to think about there. Hope that helped, that little demonstration. peterblakemaths.com. Catch you next time.